When it comes to firearms training, you can never do enough dry fire. And if you're not doing it, you need to start, or you're never going to reach anywhere near your full potential. So anytime a product comes out that helps with that process and gets someone excited about it, or potentially gets someone excited about dry fire, then I'm all in to take a look at it. This is the Mantis X Titan, the newest product in the Mantis family. So we're going to give you a no BS overview and review of the new Mantis X Titan. Let's get after it. Hey guys, Mark here from Kelley Defense and co-host of On the Range podcast. When it comes to dry fire, there's just no getting around with it. You can't get away without doing it. As a matter of fact, 80% of your training should be dry fire training. And you have to be dictating it into something like the Firearms Training Notebook that Rick and I came up with Hogg Tactical and Kelley Defense. The Firearms Training Notebook. You have to do all those things if you want to really take your firearms training serious. Titan is a little bit different because it's a full framed replica pistol that has some of the same features and actually a couple more. And I was really curious about it. But anyway, Mantis, big shout out to them for sending this to let us take a look at it and give a no BS review and overview of the product. We have no monetary relationship with Mantis. So I'm going to give you what I think about it. I'm going to give you the pros and cons, and we're going to talk about it and see what we think. First of all, it comes in this nice box. In this case, I've been working it into my dry fire regiment, so I'll be prepared for this review. And I noticed right off the bat that it's a nice package. It really is. Nice little carrying case. You can see right away that you have the pistol itself, which is a Glock 19. Now, they have the Glock 19, the Glock 17, and the Glock 45. That's all they're coming out with right now. But they're assuring us that they're going to have other models and makes. They only have those 3 models, so just keep that in mind. You can see right away you have the pistol that's in a bright red-ish orange safety color, so you know that it's a training aid. You have the 2 spare magazines. You have some cards in here that are instruction cards. One is for some of the apps, one is for the Blackbeard and some of the other products, and a little bit of information. They have a QR code you can scan to get some more information. You also have, since this thing has an internal battery, you don't have to use external batteries. You have a charging cord that is a USB-C to USB. You also have a sticker, and you have an Allen wrench, and we'll talk about these things. But that's what you get in the package. But again, it's a nice package. The case is really nice. So let's talk about some of the items that we have here. We have the pistol. Again, it's a replica pistol, and the first thing I noticed right away, it's super, super light. I didn't compare it to a dry Glock 19. I didn't think it was necessary because this is just way, way lighter. It's not very realistic when it comes to the weight. Now, the magazines, however, they're weighted magazines. So they do feel like a loaded 15-round magazine for the Glock 19. So when you put the magazine in the pistol, it does feel a lot more realistic. So now just kind of going around the pistol is it has the trigger safety on the actual trigger. So it's exactly the same as the Glock 19 real trigger. It has the texture on the front and back that's very similar. Also, the action does not rack. It does not work. So that is static. It's got a Picatinny rail on the front, which is pretty neat. You can put your weapons mounted lights or whatever you want to put on there. And also another thing that's really cool is I see that it's milled out, or it's plastic, but it's milled out for an optic. And it'll take an RMR and an RMR-C, which is the smaller one. And you can see right there, so you can put your optic on this if you have an RMR. Now on this side, there's the battery port, so you can charge it. Another thing that was cool is the magazine release is ambidextrous, so you can switch that around. The sights are very similar to a stock Glock 19 or Glock sight. They don't have the white on there. They do have a little bit of reflection on there, so you can pick those up a little bit easier, but there's no white or contrast on there to pick that up. Also on this side, this is where one of the Allen wrenches come in besides taking off the optic plate, is you have a left, right, and elevation. So you got the windage and the elevation in there, so you can actually change the laser point of impact if it's off a little bit. So you can actually adjust that. Okay, put the optic plate back on there. Also, now on top you have a button, and the button will change up a few things on how the laser reacts. This pistol has a laser that emits. You can actually see where the dot is when you depress the trigger, which is pretty cool because you can actually dry fire this without any other pieces of equipment. You don't have to have an app. You just have to have something that you want to aim at, and you can actually pull the trigger. So that's really cool. Another thing about this as well is with the other products that you would affix to your firearm that you use every day is there was no trigger reset. This has a trigger reset. So you pull it, you can hear the click, you can hear the reset. Now on top you have a button. Now this button will allow you to leave with a short press. You can see the laser, it's on constantly. So if you were going to do some training and you're going to put this on a target and then press the trigger and see how your dot is reacting, you can do that. You can also do it if you're training with moving and shooting and you just want to move and see how your steps and your gait is actually reacting the front of the pistol. There's some really cool things. And then another short press, you do that, you get a couple of quick little blinks, and now you're back to, again, just seeing the dot as you pull the trigger. Also, this will connect to multiple apps that Mantis has by just pushing it and putting it next to the phone or the iPad or whatever you're using, the device that has the app on it for the Mantis, a Laser Academy or just the Mantis X, and it'll pair it up to that, and then you can use the apps. I'm not going to do a full review on the apps, but I do have to say that it's pretty comprehensive. There's a lot of things in there. You get a lot of analytics that you can use. So, hey, you know, it's something. Basically how it works is you set up the device that has the app on it, you put a target on the wall, and then you point the camera of your device and pair it up with the image on the app. So you're actually shooting, it could be a B8 bull, or it could be a silhouette or some other things, or just a dot, and you can use your targets that you're shooting at. So there's a little bit of setup time there. So I think the laser being able to turn on constantly and stay on, and you just doing your trigger presses and hitting the target and see where your shots are landing, is a much more expedient way of training with this device. But at the same time, you know, people might not mind doing that. I always have a target set up out in the shop so I can do my dry fire training. So it wouldn't be that much of a difference for me to set that up all the time, because I was doing that when I was doing the testing. So this being a replica training aid for the Glock-19, it fits perfectly in all my holsters for my Glock-19. It really does. And the magazines fit in the magazine pouches really well. And it feels, other than the weight, it feels just like my Glock-19. It's really close. So for the last couple months, I have been able to set up my dry fire like I would normally with my firearm. I would use the Mantis. They fit in my holster. I could do draw from the holster with my Pro Timer. I could do from the ready. I could do tac mag reloads 1-in-1. I could do a lot of things, and you know, I just take that time and annotate it in the firearms training notebook, just like I would any other time, and it worked really well. Okay, so what are the cons? Let's do the cons first. The cons are that you're not using your actual firearm. I do think that the trigger is pretty good. It replicates the Glock-19 trigger. I just don't think it's exact. So that's kind of a very small con. The other con is another small one, but it is something that would affect my training, is the action not working. It's affixed. So I cannot do speed magazine changes and actually work that magazine release piece when I'm doing my speed magazine change after I put in my fresh magazine. That's another one. Another con is that right now they only have the RMR and the Shield RMC, I think, RMRC. I don't use either one of those on my Glock. So that's an issue. But again, I have no doubt that they'll be coming out with some other things and some other fixes, especially with feedback from the customers. I think the biggest pro is this is a straight out of the box, ready to go training aid. All you have to do is take it out of the case, have something to aim at on the wall, and you can pull the trigger and dry fire train. That's a big plus. It's a big time saver, and I think it's a good consideration to throw out there, because if it's not a hassle to do and it's easy to set up, people are going to do it. They're going to be more apt to do it. I like that. I also like the fact that when you're doing the training without the apps and you're just using the laser, you can do all kinds of things. You can have a steady laser, a constant beam, where you can check to see what your dot is doing and how your muzzle, your gun is reacting, and you can do the hits. So you have that instant feedback. I really like that. I really like that it's a time saver. Another big pro is the trigger. The upgrade to this trigger to where you don't have to reset it. Even if you're using your real firearm with the old devices that we had, the older devices, you'd have to work the action. There was no trigger reset. This has a really nice trigger reset. It's not exactly like it, but it's pretty damn close. So it functions the same and it feels very similar. So I like that. So you can work that piece. The third piece, the pro on this, is the ambidextrous stuff and the feel of it are just nice little things that they added in there. Plus you could throw an optic on there. That's pretty, it's pretty good upgrades to something that makes it a nice device. Another pro, some of the other devices that we had that would go on the front, like the Elite, those were pretty expensive. Those were close to $400. This is, I think it's under $200. I guess my conclusion is currently, if you have a Glock 19, a Glock 17, and a Glock 45, and you feel that you don't do enough dry firing and you believe that this would get you excited about doing dry fire, I think you should consider it. So if you like this review, make sure you go to ontherangepodcast.com. Also check out kellydefense.com and warhog.com and try out the crew. We have tips, reviews, articles, we have training, we have meetups every year. It's a lot of things going on over at the crew members page. So go to ontherangepodcast.com and check that out. And lastly, make sure you check out the Firearms Training Notebook. If you are not annotating your data for all your dry fire and live fire drills into the Firearms Training Notebook, you're never going to see your progression and you're never going to effectively plan your next dry fire or live fire range session. It's critical, folks. Dry fire and the Firearms Training Notebook. And if you think this might be something that will get you excited and help you out after this review, make sure you go check out mantis.com.